Chapter 871, Lord Spirit Sound. Hearing what Qian Yu said, Jian Wushuang's expression turned solemn. Never mind. It's useless to talk about all these now. I will take you to the Black Tower. You will get it when you try it yourself over there. Qian Yu looked at Jian Wushuang. Just follow me. Jian Wushuang followed Qian Yu towards the interior of Star Island without any hesitation. Under the guidance of Qian Yu, Jian Wushuang reached the foot of several huge dark towers after a while. Jian Wushuang looked at those pure black towers in front of him. They should be the towers that Qian Yu had mentioned, but there were 4 towers. And their positions were so weird. 3 of them stood side by side, but another tower was rooted on the steps behind the 3 ones, which looked taller and bigger. Blood Mountain, the tests in the Black Towers are divided based on the realm of testees. The first 3 towers correspond relatively to Divine Realm, Eternal Realm and Tao Master Realm. Your realm decides which Black Tower you should enter to be tested. Qian Yu said. There is a Black Tower for Tao Masters? What is it for? Isn't it said that Tao Masters are not allowed to enter into the Stellar Fog Sea? Jian Wushuang could not help but ask. Ha ha, you're right. There is no entry for Tao Masters. But what if the testee breaks through the realm of Tao Master after entering Stellar Fog Sea? Qian Yu gave a smile. Jian Wushuang was dumbstruck. Yes, only Tao Masters had no access to the Stellar Fog Sea. However, if the testee broke through the realm of Tao Master inside Stellar Fog Sea, such as on the Star Island, it could make sense. Qian Yu, you mean there are Tao Masters on this Star Island? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. Of course. There is more than one Tao Master. Qian Yu cracked a smile. There are 5 Tao Masters on this Star Island. They all broke through the realm of Tao Master after entering Stellar Fog Sea, but they are unable to leave if they failed the test. Is it so? Jian Wushuang nodded and looked up at the taller Black Tower behind the 3 Black Towers. According to what you said, the first 3 Black Towers correspond to Divine Realm, Eternal Realm and Tao Master Realm. How about the 4th tower? Which realm is it for? Jian Wushuang asked. I don't know. Qian Yu shook his head. Except for Lord Spirit Sound, no one knows who can receive the test in the 4th Black Tower. I only know that the 5 Tao Masters on Star Island are not qualified to get into that Black Tower. The Lord Spirit Sound once said that whoever passes the test in the 4th Black Tower will be the owner of Stellar Fog Sea and has the right to control everything in Stellar Fog Sea. At that time, for people like us who are trapped here, our life and death will depend on the Onitabi's decision. If he is kind-hearted enough, he will release us. If he is Blackheart, however, we may get killed directly, remain trapped, or even become his slaves. Anyway, everything is possible. Qian Yu said casually, but he was already desolate. Jian Wushuang nodded thoughtfully and then he walked towards the far left Black Tower. Blood Mountain, you went the wrong way. This tower is to test Divine Realm experts. The one next to it is for the Eternal Realm. Qian Yu reminded him. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang gave a smile but did not stop. Took the wrong way. Joke. He was a Divine Realm expert. So it was well reasoned to take the test in the Black Tower directed for Divine Realm experts. Jian Wushuang came to the front of the Black Tower and prepared to set feet on the steps. However, a strong gust of resistance made him unable to move forward. How could it be? Jian Wushuang paled. He was a god and there should be no doubt that he took the test for Divine Realm experts. Why was he impeded? Is it because I used the yin-yang mirror to conceal the aura? Jian Wushuang thought. His aura was hidden by the yin-yang mirror all the time, so Qian Yu had said he took the wrong way. Jian Wushuang immediately manipulated and stopped the control of his aura by the yin-yang mirror. His aura as a Divine Realm expert became visible. Even so, Jian Wushuang was still unable to take one step forward. He had no access to this Black Tower for Divine Realm experts. What's the matter? Jian Wushuang felt confused. At this time, young boy, don't waste your time. You can't get into this Black Tower. A cold voice raised from somewhere. Jian Wushuang looked back at the source of the voice at once. A good-looking and enchanting red-robed woman came over slowly. Chen Yu was shocked when he saw the woman, and then he immediately bent down to salute. "My lord, at your service." "Lord." Jian Wushuang was surprised. The woman in front of them was the Lord Spirit Sound, the master of Star Island. "You may leave." Lord Spirit Sound glanced at Chen Yu. Chen Yu nodded reverently without any resistance and left directly. In front of the Black Tower, there were only Jian Wushuang and Lord Spirit Sound. "What's your name?" Lord Spirit Sound looked at Jian Wushuang. "Blood Mountain." Jian Wushuang answered. "Blood Mountain. I believe you have known my identity and the rules of our Star Island from Chen Yu." Lord Spirit Sound asked. "Yes." Jian Wushuang replied. "Good. No matter who comes to Star Island, he must follow my rules with no exception. Since you are here, you only have two choices. One choice is to be trapped here forever just like other people. The other choice is to make a breakthrough in this Black Tower. If you pass the test, I will set you free and give you some opportunities." Lord Spirit Sound said. "I get it." Jian Wushuang slightly nodded and then he asked, "Lord Spirit Sound, as you see, I'm a Divine Realm expert. But why can't I get into the Black Tower for Divine Realm experts?" "Well, we all know you are a real Divine Realm expert. But more than that, you have another identity." Lord Spirit Sound gave a wee smile, and then she said very slowly, "You are an inverse cultivator." Jian Wushuang was so stunned. "What?" Jian Wushuang's expression changed. An unexpected sense of panic and terror overwhelmed him. He was an exact inverse cultivator. But only he and his friend, Empress Xiao, knew about this. Other than that, no one should know about it. But now, this Lord Spirit Sound had pointed out he was an inverse cultivator at first sight. Chapter 872. Inverse Cultivation. "So, I guess you are wondering how I can tell who you are." The Lord Spirit Sound stared at Jian Wushuang. "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded. He really had no idea how could she know about it. "To be frank, it's very easy for me," Lord Spirit Sound said with an easy smile. "For every warrior, there is a limitation at each realm. A Divine Realm expert has a limitation on how high strength can go, as does an Eternal Realm expert. A Divine Realm expert can only reach step 5 of the Eternal Realm, no matter how powerful he is. That is his limitation. It's impossible for an ordinary warrior to improve their battle strength as long once it reaches step 5. Even if he obtains an extraordinary opportunity or secret skill that can enhance his strength, the strength he can exert will still remain at step 5. This is the limitation placed on warriors by the heavenly laws. In this world, only one group of people can break free from this limitation. They are inverse cultivators." After that, Lord Spirit Sound paused for a moment, then she continued, "Inverse cultivators defy the heavens, so the heavenly laws are useless against them. But you, as a Divine Realm expert, should be clear about what level your battle strength has reached." "Is that so?" Jian Wushuang was surprised. Indeed, his battle strength was much stronger than any other Divine Realm expert. This was the main benefit in cultivating the heavenly creation skill. In reference to heaven-defying 4 steps, he had reached the second step, the deification realm, which meant his battle strength had no limitations. His current strength was already higher than a Divine Realm expert should be able to possess, but he was still able to improve his strength. There are only a few inverse cultivators in this world. I went on many adventures while following my lord for so many years, but only saw 2 inverse cultivators. So, I know a little about inverse cultivation. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to recognize your identity." The Lord Spirit Sound smiled. After hearing her words, Jian Wushuang understood. He had been in Eternal World for quite a while now, and he had even met some Dao masters, including Empress Leng, who was a peak Dao master. Empress Leng had been able to perceive that he was a Divine Realm expert, but had no idea that he was an inverse cultivator. Apparently, Empress Leng knew nothing about inverse cultivation. But this Lord Spirit Sound in front of him could tell that he was as an inverse cultivator because she had seen inverse cultivators before when she was adventuring with her lord, the person who had created the stellar fog sea. Lord Spirit Sound, I am indeed an inverse cultivator, but why can't I enter the Black Tower for Divine Realm experts? Is there any relation? Jian Wushuang asked. Absolutely. The Lord Spirit Sound smiled and said, because inverse cultivators defy the heavens, their strength is much powerful than normal. That allows them to take rank-skipping challenges. So, the experts in this world already reached a consensus that an inverse cultivator would be counted as being one realm higher. That is to say, an inverse cultivator in the divine realm will be treated as an eternal realm expert. So, an inverse cultivator in the eternal realm will be treated as a Dao master. You are an inverse cultivator in the divine realm, so I will regard you as an eternal realm expert rather than a divine realm expert. That means you will not be able to access the Black Tower that tests divine realm experts. You have to head to the Black Tower that tests eternal realm experts if you want to try. After saying this, Lord Spirit Sound paused, but then she said with interest, in truth, you should be glad that you are only a divine realm expert. Since you are a divine realm expert, you have a good chance of passing the test and getting out of here given enough time. But if you had reached the eternal realm, you would have to take the test for Dao Masters. It is more difficult than the test for eternal realm experts. If that happened, I'm afraid that you would be trapped here forever like some of the others on this island. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang felt a chill. She was right. If what Lord Spirit Sound said was true, an inverse cultivator in the eternal realm would take the test for Dao Masters. However, the test was so difficult that he might be unable to pass it within 30,000 years or even 3 million years. Needless to say, he planned to leave within 300 years. It's quite fortunate that I did not make a breakthrough. In that case, I truly would be miserable. Jian Wushuang thought. Well, that's all there is to say. It's time to see for yourself, the Lord Spirit Sound said and then disappeared in a flash. Jian Wushuang stood alone in front of the Black Tower with his hands clenched. I don't have much time, only 300 years. Within that time limit, I have to find the Dragon Phoenix fruit and figure out a way to leave this place. There's no time to delay. Jian Wushuang looked up at the Black Tower for Eternal Realm experts and walked straight towards it without hesitation. Just as expected, Jian Wushuang smoothly entered the tower without any trouble. There were 3 levels in this tower, with 1 test on each level. For now, Jian Wushuang was on the first level. As soon as he entered the first level, Jian Wushuang immediately saw a burly figure quietly standing there. A familiar feeling arose from Jian Wushuang's heart when he saw that figure. It's him. Jian Wushuang looked up and his expression became a little weird. This burly figure was the human-shaped monster that he killed with Zhu Zui and the other 2. He was also the first enemy that they encountered in the Stellar Fog Sea. Boy, this blood demon will be your first opponent in the Black Tower. As long as you can beat him, you will have passed this test. The voice of Lord Spirit Sound suddenly echoed in Jian Wushuang's mind. Beat him. As Jian Wushuang stared at the burly figure, a serious expression quickly appeared on his face. Blood demon? Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. It seems I guessed right. He is a puppet fighter that was refined using a special method, so he's very different from ordinary puppet fighters. He had seen the blood demon's strength before. This blood demon possessed incredible strength, speed, defense, and saber technique. It could be said that he had no weakness from head to toe. He was definitely a human-shaped monster. At that time, he had teamed up with Zhu Zui, Ling Long and Shui Jin in a fierce battle with the blood demon, but failed to defeat him. Finally, it was Jian Wushuang who killed the blood demon with the 9th Heaven Sword formation. But obviously, that blood demon was not the only one. Chapter 873, Blood Demon. Inside the first level of the Black Tower, Jian Wushuang and the blood demon stared at each other from a distance. Jian Wushuang had turned into a gold-armored ancient god and had his blood mountain sword in hand. Previously, the 4 of us failed to defeat him, but now it's only me. However, I am much stronger now than I was before. A light flashing in Jian Wushuang's eyes and he stepped forward aggressively. Swoosh! He shot forward like an arrow. Jian Wushuang moved at an amazing speed, appearing directly in front of the Blood Demon while slashing out with his Blood Mountain sword. At the same time, the Blood Demon pulled out a hulking saber on his back immediately and hacked it like a thunderbolt. They too bumped into each other, causing a violent clash. Jian Wushuang felt his arm was numb, a violet power rushing toward him, which made him stand back out of control. His power is really strong. Jian Wushuang sighed with emotion. Speaking of strength, Zhu Zui's strongest shot was well matched with the Blood Demon's blow. But now it was impossible for Jian Wushuang to defeat the Blood Demon only by right of his swordsmanship if he did not exert Ninth Heaven Sword formation. Since I can't defeat him in strength, I can pin my hope on the killing skill. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold, his swordsmanship exploding directly. His swordsmanship was sometimes quick and violent like a thunderbolt, sometimes soft and durable, just like a ball of cotton. Jian Wushuang put his swordsmanship into full play as well as the close killing skill. However, the Blood Demon showed a very horrible saber technique. His close offensive ability was on a par with Jian Wushuang. Clang! 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 With several sounds of weapons colliding against, Jian Wushuang was powerless to beat back all the time. Since the Blood Demon's strength was extremely overwhelming, Jian Wushuang's palm was shocked to bleed, and his blood was rolling up. I can't defeat him. I really fall behind him in strength, although we are well matched on other aspects. Jian Wushuang shook his head. He had planned to battle with the Blood Demon by his swordsmanship. It was obvious, however, that the Blood Demon was much more powerful than him. What I can rely on is Ninth Heaven Sword formation. A light flashing in Jian Wushuang's eyes, he took the opportunity to step back after another collision with the Blood Demon. In the meanwhile, sword shadows outburst from his interspatial ring. Condense! As Jian Wushuang said a word, 36 Blood Sky swords appeared and rushed to form a scarlet longsword at a quick speed, radiating a terrifying aura. Go! A gleam of killing intent jumped in Jian Wushuang's eyes, and then the scarlet longsword shot up like a streak of lightning. It was so quick that no shadow of it left in the air. The Blood Demon was rushing to Jian Wushuang and tried to kill him at one stroke. As a flash of blood shadow flitted unexpectedly, he had no time to withstand but beheaded by the shadow. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang showed a slight smile, and then he recalled the scarlet longsword and his interspatial ring. Who? Jian Wushuang breathed a sigh of relief, looked at the Blood Demon. No wonder only 12 kings among so many Eternal Realm experts on Star Island can break through this level. This Blood Demon is really strong. Jian Wushuang had to admit this. The Blood Demon was indeed mighty. The Blood Demon was absolutely a nightmare for Eternal Realm experts. The ordinary testees, even those with strong power, in the 6th step of the Eternal Realm would definitely get killed by the Blood Demon in a one-on-one battle. Only those authentic Eternal Realm monsters were able to overcome the Blood Demon. Jian Wushuang was destined to be overwhelmed by the Blood Demon without the help of Ninth Heaven Sword formation. But now it was easy for him to kill the Blood Demon with the formation. This Ninth Heaven Sword formation is known as the strongest sword formation in the Eternal World. It really makes great difference in battle if I deploy it. Jian Wushuang spoke to himself. Jian Wushuang quickly came to the level 2 of the Black Tower after past the level 1. What Jian Wushuang saw here was still a Blood Demon. What's wrong? Another Blood Demon? Jian Wushuang frowned, looked at the robust figure in front of him, who was almost the same as the Blood Demon that he had killed in the level 1. Blood Mountain, now you're in the level 2 of the Black Tower. Just like the level 1, all you need to do is to defeat the Blood Demon in front of you. But I have to remind you, the Blood Demon in the level 1 and the one in the Frog Sea are low-graded Blood Demons. This one in front of you is a high-class Blood Demon. The Lord Spirit Sound's voice lingered in Jian Wushuang's heart once again. Obviously the Lord Spirit Sound witnessed what Jian Wushuang had gone through in the Black Tower. High-class Blood Demon. A dark cloud cast over Jian Wushuang's face. Only the lowest Blood Demon was strong enough to engulf most Eternal Realm experts. How powerful the high-class Blood Demon was. Jian Wushuang learned his strength soon. Jian Wushuang directly displayed Ninth Heaven Sword formation rather than trying to fiercely battle with the high-class Blood Demon in the beginning, since he fully aware that this Blood Demon was much stronger. Whoosh! The scarlet longsword formed by the 36 Blood Sky swords shot out to the high-class blood demon with a terrifying strong power. It traveled at a stunning speed as before. Jian Wushuang had just beheaded the low-grade blood demon by this move in the level 1. But now his opponent was a high-class blood demon, so, the moment the scarlet longsword had outburst, the high-class blood demon brandished his bulky saber at will. Clang! A metallic clash came out. As the high-class blood demon hacked his saber at the scarlet longsword, breaking forth an irrumpant power, which shuddered the scarlet longsword and disintegrated it at the next moment. What? After seeing that, Jian Wushuang was completely slack-jawed. The ninth heaven sword formation was valuable in speed. The low-grade blood demon had had no time to react but had been directly killed by it. But this high-class blood demon managed to hold off the ninth heaven sword formation. More than that, he even broke down the ninth heaven sword formation. How powerful was he? Boom! After disintegrated Jian Wushuang's ninth heaven sword formation, the high-class blood demon stamped his foot, smashing the ground, and then his bulky body appeared in front of Jian Wushuang in no time. Chapter 874. Opportunity. Boom! A powerful aura rolled up an overwhelming hurricane and engulfed Jian Wushuang. Damn it! Jian Wushuang's face turned pale since he found it was too late to contend against if he regrouped the ninth heaven sword formation. He had to exert his strongest move with the Blood Mountain sword. This was the fourth move of the Boundless Heaven sword art that he studied carefully for years. As for Boundless Heaven sword art, one move was stronger than another. The fourth move was stronger than the third one. The high-class blood demon slashed out his outrageous saber. Bang! The power exploded with a thud. An incredible power sprayed to Jian Wushuang and made his hands quivered. Thereupon his Blood Mountain sword was compelled to fly off from his hand. Whereafter, the high-class blood demon brandished the saber and chopped Jian Wushuang to death only in 1 second. But because of the special restriction, nobody would lose his life on Star Island. Therefore, Jian Wushuang quickly repaired his body and appeared outside the Black Tower. Stood at the foot of the Black Tower, Jian Wushuang looked up at it and still felt a little scared. Too powerful. The high-class blood demon was dozens of times stronger than the low-grade blood demon at least. He smashed my ninth heaven sword formation just by one blow and vibrated my long sword away by another blow, and finally he killed me. So horrible. He is much more stronger than me. Jian Wushuang showed a startled expression. He had thought that few people could overcome him since his current strength was at the peak of the Eternal Realm. But now, only a special puppet fighter easily triumphed over him. He could recognize that the puppet fighter was only in the Eternal Realm, far away from the realm of Tao Master, but outclassed him so much. This high-class blood demon is more powerful than me. I have to reach the 5th level on Sword Heart if I want to contend against him. Furthermore, I need master the 9th heaven sword formation better. Jian Wushuang thought. There were much room for his improvement in strength. He had reached the peak of level 4 on Sword Heart, only 1 step away from level 5. His strength would skyrocket as soon as he reached the level 5. In addition, he was unable to give full play to the 9th heaven sword formation in that he only mastered it at the preliminary stage. The 9th heaven sword formation contained 3 formations. The first sword formation, Traceless Sword, had costed him much time and energy to study. Jian Wushuang just started to master this heavy sword formation. His achievement was only in the Initial Realm according to the division of realm. There was a long way to go before he reached the Profound Realm, let alone the Exceptional Realm. With regard to the second sword formation, it was totally vain for him. If he reached the level 5 on Sword Heart and the Profound Realm on the first step of 9th heaven sword formation, he was qualified to battle with the high-class blood demon. Of course, it was still hard to say whether he could defeat his opponent. However, I still have the chance to break through the level 2 test. Jian Wushuang was confident of himself. Blood Mountain. As a voice emerged, the bald teenager, Chen Yu, who had talked to Jian Wushuang a lot, walked towards him. How's it going? Not bad. I broke through the level 1, but get killed in the level 2. Jian Wushuang answered. Broke through the level 1. Chen Yu looked at Jian Wushuang in amazement and then he laughed. Haha. Only 12 kings on Star Island passed the level 1. You're the 13th. 12 kings has become the 13 kings. Let's go. Let me take you around the Star Island. Just let them envy. Xianxia was going to take Jian Wushuang away in excitement. It was so fevered for them to flaunt something since they had been trapped on Star Island for so many years. But Jian Wushuang shook his head. There's no need. Xianxia, you told me there is some opportunity on Star Island. That's for sure. Xianxia nodded. These opportunities are unusual. Just because of them, people like me who are locked up here have a little hope to leave. Without them, it's impossible for us to pass the tests in Black Tower if only depends on our efforts. Jian Wushuang agreed. Only the level 2 of Black Tower was too difficult to break through, much less the level 3. Without the assistance of opportunity, it was hopeless to pass the test only by virtue of their aimless and individual studying. There are 2 kinds of opportunities on Star Island, Star Jade Wall and 9 secret skills. Xianxia began to narrate. Everyone can possess Star Jade Wall. People like us who have nothing important to do will go to cultivate under the Star Jade Wall. As for the other opportunity, 9 secret skills, it has many limitations. The Lord Spirit Sound made a rule that only those who have broken the level 1 test are qualified to cultivate the 9 secret skills. That means only 12 kings are eligible to cultivate. But they are only allowed to select 1 secret skill to cultivate. And Dao Masters are also able to select 1 secret skill to cultivate. Like the 5 Dao Masters on Star Island, they all cultivate 1 secret skill. There is few chance to pass the test when they were in the Eternal Realm. So 4 of them chose to reach the Dao Master Realm when occasion served in order to get a chance to leave by virtue of the cultivation of 9 secret skills. Get a chance. Jian Wushuang was confused. Blood Mountain. Let me tell you. Although the test to Eternal Realm is hard enough, there is still a little hope. The strongest king among the 12 kings already passed the level 2 test, not far away from getting through the level 3 test. But the test to Dao Masters is much more difficult than that to the Eternal Realm. Even the 5 Dao Masters on Star Island, who have cultivated one of the 9 secret skills, failed to pass the level 1 test. So you can imagine how difficult it is. Xianxia said. Chapter 875, Star Jade Wall. It's nearly impossible to pass the Dao Master level test. Therefore, even though strong enough to break through to Dao Master, some Eternal Realms on the Star Island keep suppressing their realm to maintain in the Eternal Realm, Xianxia said. Suppressing their realm. Jian Wushuang was shocked to hear that. He knew about that. However, who would suppress their realm on purpose? Everyone wanted to be the best. The stronger, the better. As far as I estimate, there are at least 10 among the 12 kings who are able to break through to Dao Master. They just keep suppressing it and taking the Eternal Realm level test, Xianxia continued. As regards to the 5 Dao Masters, they couldn't pass the first level test when they were in Eternal Realm. Actually, they were way too far from passing that. Therefore, they chose to break through to Dao Master so that they could at least learn the top 9 secret skills earlier. I see, Jian Wushuang nodded. Since it was impossible to pass the Eternal Realm level test, they turned to break through to Dao Master instead for a bold try by cultivating the strongest secret skills. Never mind. There's no need to talk about this. I will show you the 2 opportunity lands so you can see by yourself, Xianxia said, leading Jian Wushuang towards another direction. They arrived in a group of pavilions soon. There were more than 10 pavilions jamming together. Each of them was very vast but not tall. Here is where the Star Jade Wall located, one of the 2 opportunity lands of Star Island. Xianxia pointed at the pavilions and introduced, the Star Jade Walls were in those pavilions and differentiated. There are Jade Walls focusing on Sword Principle, Saber Principle, Spear Principle, Axe Principle and so on. You are good at Sword Principle so you might need the Sword Principle Jade Walls. Jian Wushuang nodded. They are over there. Let me show you. Xianxia took Jian Wushuang to one pavilion. It was an open broad hall with some people in it. They were all sitting cross-legged on the ground and looking at the jade walls on both sides of the hall. It seemed that they were completely enchanted in that. Jian Wushuang looked over too. The walls on both sides of the hall were paved with jades, forming two giant jade walls. There were some lifelike patterns carved on them. Each pattern showed a person wielding a long sword. They just looked identical, nothing different. However, there were 16 of them on the jade walls. Blood Mountain. Here is the star jade wall. The patterns on the jade walls contains profound opportunities. It seems like they are identical at the first glance, but if you look closely, you will find out each on them is unique. Qian Yu introduced. Jian Wushuang nodded. He found a spot and sat down cross-legged as everybody else, looking up at the patterns. He looked at the first one. The pattern was ordinary, just watching by eyes. Nothing special. However, Jian Wushuang concentrated his sword heart. It changed immediately when watching by heart. The man with a long sword started moving. The pattern flipped. It was a vast world. The weather was nice and everything was calm. In the middle of the world, there was a middle-aged man wearing a rain cape and a bamboo hat. He was holding a cyan long sword. There was an immaterial airflow around him. Then he moved. Quick and neat. Lifting his cyan long sword, he hacked the giant lake below him. All at a sudden, the world was torn apart. An intense immaterial flow spread around crazily. The huge cyan sword shadow hacked downwards to the center of the lake. A huge straight gully appeared instantly in the middle of the lake, splitting it into two parts. The water from the lake started running into the gully. It was weird that such powerful hack only caused the gully. There was no ripple, no spray, let alone pounding wave. Incredible skill. After that, the man withdrew slowly and stood there. The pattern was then gone. Jian Wushuang was totally shocked. He had witnessed the whole process. It was incredible to him. How come? It was strong enough to split the lake apart but didn't cause any waves. Even a little stone dropping into a still lake will cause a circle of ripples. It's impossible for causing nothing. But Jian Wushuang couldn't figure it out. Since he was good at sword principle, it was easy for him to hack a huge gully in the lake by one strike. However, it was impossible for him to hack such huge gully without causing any waves. Incredible. It was really incredible to him. Taking a deep breath, he then looked at the second pattern. The pattern flipped too. Boom boom POW. Jian Wushuang saw an endless sea of fire. With extraordinarily high temperature, the sea of fire was burning the air, burning the whole world. There was also a man wearing a rain cape and a bamboo hat standing in the middle of the fire. The destructive fire didn't burn him to death. Even his clothes was intact. Holding a long sword, he was standing quietly in the sea of fire, like the master of it. Right at the moment, he drew his sword. Chapter 876. The Most Powerful 9 Secret Skills. As the sword light came down, the boundless fire around quenched instantly and didn't stir any sparks anymore. Such an overmatch. Jian Wushuang felt extremely shocked. How do you feel about Blood Mountain? Said Qian Yu, looking towards him. Unbelievable. Jian Wushuang acclaimed. The following two images and the swordsmanship performed within them had given Jian Wushuang an obscure feeling. A myriad of thoughts crowded into his mind when he just skimmed it quickly. There are nearly 16 patterns on the star jade wall, and each of pattern displays an inconceivable movement of swordsmanship. As for Eternal Realm, we would spend long ages exploring the swordsmanship. Besides, each of the 16 movements is different and each of them represents a specific direction. If you want to meditate them, you'd better select one pattern and concentrate on it, said Qian Yu. Understood, replied Jian Wushuang, nodding his head slightly. Although he skimmed only 2 patterns, he had distinguished the difference of the swordsmanship between 2 patterns. The first swordsmanship was to focus all the power into one point without wasting any of it, uncanny yet profound. The second movement, with amazing power, was destructive. The 2 movements of swordsmanship were performed by the same people, but the quality and significance of them were distinct from one another. You can study the star jade wall later. Now I'm going to show you where the 9 secret skills are located, said Qian Yu. Okay, Jian Wushuang nodded, and then he followed Qian Yu to the place. The 9 secret skills with a good fame were located on Star Island. People on Star Island were filled with longing for the 9 secret skills. However, it was mandated by Lord Spirit Sound that only Dao Master or people who could pass through level 1 of Black Tower were allowed to select one of the secret skills to cultivate. On Star Island, only the 5 Dao Masters and 12 Kings were qualified to cultivate the secret skills. Jian Wushuang followed Qian Yu, and they came to an exquisite pavilion. Inside the pavilion, there is a technique of cultivating the 9 secret skills. Lord Spirit Sound has set a restriction outside the pavilion that people who have passed through level 1 of Black Tower were admitted to the pavilion. So there was no way to let you in. You would have to go in there yourself. Qian Yu said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded as he headed to the pavilion. Soon, he had come inside the pavilion. Upon entering the pavilion, Jian Wushuang saw a broad clearing, where there were 9 raised jade tables at the very center. On each jade table, there was a jade slip. Those jade slips were the 9 secret skills on Star Island, weren't they? Jian Wushuang found it confusing. At this moment, an enchanting shadow in red suddenly appeared inside the pavilion, exactly in front of Jian Wushuang. Lord Spirit Sound. Jian Wushuang immediately looked to him. I have guessed that you would pass through level 1 of Black Tower. You didn't disappoint me. Lord Spirit Sound smiled and continued. Each of the 9 jade slips before you has a secret skill, and each of them is distinctive. In terms of your vision, they can definitely be called the most powerful secret skills. You can select any of the 9 secret skills to cultivate. On Star Island, there are also some special places where people can cultivate these secret skills. Select one secret skill and enter the corresponding special place. Now you can select. Raising his eyebrows, Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate and moved forward to the 9 jade slips. At first, he walked before the first jade slip. His eyes darted towards the jade slip as a flow of messages directly came into his mind. The secret skill of Famine is a power amplitude typed secret skill. The secret skill of Famine had 9 layers altogether, and the power of each layer could enhance by 9 times. If getting to an extreme, one would improve his or her offensive power by 81 times. Divine Realm Expert could cultivate the first 3 layers of the 9 secret skills, while the immediate 3 layers are for the Eternal Realm and the last 3 layers for Dao Master. Such a brief introduction made his eyes come abruptly back. A power amplitude typed secret skill. Jian Wushuang felt much astounded. He was actually not so strange to this secret skill. Instead, he was quite familiar to it. Star River secret skill, which was one of the 3 ancient god secret skills he cultivated, belonged to power amplitude secret skill and was very horrible. Jian Wushuang was just a divine realm expert, but why was he not inferior to an ordinary eternal realm expert and even superior to an eternal realm expert with his basic strength bursting out? It was not just because of Jian Wushuang's inverse cultivation. The major reason was that he had cultivated Star River secret skill. Now, he had achieved the 14 layers of Star River secret skill with its power amplitude reaching by 42 times. If one wanted to cultivate such a secret skill in the eternal world to its full play, he could just reach 10 times of its power amplitude. Like those eternal realm experts or Dao Master in the eternal world, they all had cultivated such a secret skill, but they could only turn them all up to 10 times. Compared with the one reaching 10 times, Jian Wushuang who had reached 42 times, 32 more than the previous ones. It had brought Jian Wushuang tremendous advantages, so he would be this tough as his basic strength burst out. The first secret skill Jian Wushuang saw on Star Island was exactly a power amplitude secret skill which could be reached by 81 times. 81 times. Though inferior to the 100 times of Star River secret skill Jian Wushuang cultivated, the secret skill of Famine was far enough to make many warriors in the eternal world go crazy. If such a secret skill exists in the eternal world, it will definitely cause a stir. However, it is almost useless for me, Jian Wushuang said, shaking his head. Since he had cultivated Star River secret skill, he surely wouldn't cultivate the secret skill of Famine. At this moment, Jian Wushuang took a few steps forward and stopped before the second jade slip, watching the secret skill in it. The Frozen and Snow-Covered World is a realm-typed secret skill. On seeing such an introduction, Jian Wushuang suddenly changed his expression. Realm-typed secret skill. He appeared to get such a realm-typed secret skill in the ancient world. At that time, it did have some positive effects on him. As he entered the eternal world, the secret skill grew useless. So he didn't perform it anymore. Now, he saw such a secret skill again on Star Island. Jian Wushuang immediately began looking through the introduction of the secret skill carefully. The frozen and snow-covered world is not bad. If I'm successful to cultivate it, it will play a big part for me either in one-to-one killing or in a scrimmage. But, unfortunately... Chapter 877. Divine Yin Thunder. Now I'm stuck in Star Island. And the most important thing is to get through the trials of the Black Tower. The frozen and snow-covered world can help me a lot indeed, but it can't assist me in greatly improving my strength. Jian Wushuang secretly denied it. Such a realm-typed secret skill was used to suppress the opponent. Frankly speaking, it was only an auxiliary secret skill. This secret skill had a wide range of uses. Jian Wushuang had used this secret skill to head off the danger previously in the ancient world. If there was no special case, Jian Wushuang was much likely to select this secret skill. However, he was stuck in Star Island, and only when he passed through the 3 trials of Black Tower could he leave here. So this moment what he needed most was a secret skill that could help him boost his offensive power or greatly increase his comprehensive strength so that he was able to pass through the trials quickly. As such, this secret skill was obviously not suitable. Jian Wushuang continued reading the following secret skills. He was reading carefully the 9 secret skill one by one. After he read all the 9 secret skills, Jian Wushuang's eyes finally stopped on a secret skill called Divine Yin Thunder. If you produce Divine Yin Thunder in your own body, you will have horribly destructive Divine Thunder which can be fused into your own powerful offensive. And every move is equipped with the power of Divine Thunder so that the offensive power explodes. Divine Yin Thunder consists of 3 levels. As the level grows, the power of Divine Thunder becomes more significant with its offensive power being stronger. After reading the introduction of Divine Yin Thunder, Jian Wushuang had firmly focused on the secret skill. Produce Divine Yin Thunder so that it can be fused into your own powerful offensive. Then your offensive power explodes with your speed greatly enhancing. Jian Wushuang said, his eyes twinkling with cunning lights. The strongest killing move of him was exactly 9th Heaven Sword Formation. 9th Heaven Sword Formation was famous for its speed and power, which was dreadful. Divine Yin Thunder could enhance the power of 9th Heaven Sword Formation by a notch on the original basis. Make perfection more perfect. It would be an optimal choice for Jian Wushuang. Lord Spirit Sound, I've decided to cultivate Divine Yin Thunder, Jian Wushuang said directly. Well, Lord Spirit Sound said smilingly, raising his eyebrow. You're so smart. You know Divine Yin Thunder is not the strongest one among the 9 secret skills, but it best fits your situation. Lord Spirit Sound said while waved his hand. The jade slip where Divine Yin Thunder was recorded had a restriction around it, but now the restriction had been cracked. Now you can easily get the technique of cultivating the secret skill. However, keep in mind that you must cultivate on your own, but you can't teach others. Of course, if you have a chance to leave here later, you can do whatever you want with this secret skill. It's out of my reach at that time. On Star Island, I'll set the rules. Lord Spirit Sound said. Understood, Jian Wushuang nodded, as his awareness readily moved to the jade slip. The moment his awareness shifted to the jade slip, a constant flow of messages popped up in his mind. These messages were exactly the cultivation technique of the 3 levels of Divine Yin Thunder. Just for a moment, Jian Wushuang had remembered all the messages. There is a token, with which you can enter the Palace of Yin Thunder any time you want to cultivate. And the palace is specialized for people who cultivate Divine Yin Thunder. Lord Spirit Sound said. Thanks. Jian Wushuang thanked him, taking the token surprisedly. Okay, you can go now, said Lord Spirit Sound, waving his hand. Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate to take a bow to Lord Spirit Sound and turned around to walk away. After stepping out of the pavilion, Chen Yu, who had been waiting out there, came up. How do you feel it? Jian Wushuang asked. Not bad, Jian Wushuang smiled, extremely surprised. Ha ha, that is the strongest one of the 9 secret skills on Star Island. Even Tao Master always envied it. It's terrific that you have that now. Chen Yu said smilingly, well, I'll show you 2 opportunity places on Star Island. Then you can find a deserted courtyard there to stay yourself. The Star Island is so big that there are so many places you can stay. Okay, Jian Wushuang nodded smilingly and said, Chen Yu, how long have you stayed on Star Island? Have you got to know people there? Have you heard a man called Kong Ming? Kong Ming? Tao Master of Kong Ming. Chen Yu paused again. Tao Master. Jian Wushuang was stunned. Kong Ming was exactly the Eternal Realm expert who had taken Yin Ampiang Dragon Phoenix fruit to Stellar Fog Sea 50,000 years ago. The main reason why Jian Wushuang came to Stellar Fog Sea was to find Kong Ming and get Yin Ampiang Dragon Phoenix fruit back to Tang of the East. Chen Yu, as you said, Kong Ming is one of the Tao Masters on Star Island, isn't he? Jian Wushuang said confusedly. Yes. Chen Yu nodded and continued. I've told you that there are 5 Tao Masters on Star Island, the 4 of who know they can finally achieve the level of Tao Master only if they can't pass through Black Tower. How about the one left? What did he say? What bad luck! As he entered Stellar Fog Sea, he didn't know the existence of Star Island at the very beginning. He was wandering helplessly in the Fog Sea, running into an exotic beast and rescuing himself by achieving the level of Tao Master at stake. Then he came to Star Island and knew the rules of Star Island. He used to sign time after time since he had a high aptitude. If he achieved the level of Eternal Realm, there are still some possibilities for him to pass the trials. And this Tao Master is Kong Ming. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang became speechless. How should Kong Ming achieve the level of Tao Master? Jian Wushuang declared and then smiled. That's all right. Although his strength was achieved, at least he is still alive and Yin Ampiang Dragon Phoenix fruit must be on his hand. If you don't anything else, I'm off. Chen Yu greeted Jian Wushuang and then walked away. Thanks. Jian Wushuang thanked Chen Yu. When Chen Yu left, Jian Wushuang stood there alone. Kong Ming is quite a Tao Master. If there is nothing important, he won't give Yin Ampiang Dragon Phoenix fruit to me in vain. It seems that my top priority is to pass the trials on Star Island as soon as possible. When it's time to leave Star Island, I'll ask him for that. At the thought of it, Jian Wushuang had a token appearing on his hand. This token was an access to enter the Palace of Yin Thunder. According to Chen Yu, the 5 Tao Masters on Star Island, as well as the 12 Kings, would greatly improve their strength because they had cultivated this secret skill. Divine Yin Thunder is enough for me to enhance my strength. I'm going to head to the Palace of Yin Thunder at first and try to produce a Divine Yin Thunder. As he made up his mind, Jian Wushuang immediately headed to the Palace of Yin Thunder. Chapter 878. Sword Heart, the 5th level. The Palace of Yin Thunder, located in the north of Star Island, was almost uninhabited. When Jian Wushuang took the token and came here, he was amazed at what he saw. It was far from a palace. Instead, it was more of a vast thunder sea. At the sight of this, he saw the whole palace inside was crowded with black thunderbolts. It was a thunder sea, a dark thunder sea. Each of those black thunderbolts in the thunder sea was astonishingly horrible and powerful. Good boy! How could it possible for me to go into the Thunder Sea and produce my first Divine Yin Thunder by being devoured by numerous thunderbolts and absorbing the power of them? Staring at the Thunder Sea, Jian Wushuang felt a bit breathless. The technique of cultivating Divine Yin Thunder was very wild, but people still stood a good chance of acquiring it. Whoosh, okay, go. Jian Wushuang breathed out softly as he hovered into the dark Thunder Sea. Upon entering the Thunder Sea, he was being attacked by the black thunderbolts. Thwack! Thwack! The thunderbolts, one after another, throbbed on his body with a flow of violent power permeating inside him. When he entered the Thunder Sea, his body got frozen up and couldn't move at all. At the same time, an ever-increasingly sharp pain grew violently inside his body. Pest! Jian Wushuang grimaced painfully as his eyes seemed extremely calm. Under such a sharp pain, he began performing the technique of divine yin thunder. As the technique was performed, the violent power inside Jian Wushuang's body was pinned down. Although it was likewise violent, Jian Wushuang obvious felt less painful. One day later, some power of thunderbolt was added in Jian Wushuang's body. This power of thunderbolt was feeble. It was hard to preserve it into his body, let alone to stimulate the attacking power. Is it divine yin thunder? Jian Wushuang just felt weak power of thunderbolt, but a smile gradually grew on his face. Although it's weak, and there is a major gap exists between it and a complete divine yin thunder which can be used to attack, it can be considered a starting point at least for now. Even with the help of Thunder Sea, one can't cultivate divine yin thunder in one day. It took a lot of time. It took time to gradually transform the power of thunderbolt inside. In the dark Thunder Sea, an odd look came into Jian Wushuang's eyes, and then his slaughter body immediately appeared behind him. His world body would stay at Thunder Sea to cultivate divine yin thunder, while his slaughter body would go to Star Jade Wall meditating the swordsmanship. The two original body collaborated with each other so that the progress had been fast. Behind Star Jade Wall, Jian Wushuang found a good place to sit down with his eyes staring at the profound swordsmanship patterns on the wall. Jian Wushuang carefully observed every one of the 16 patterns and explored the spectacular swordsmanship included in the patterns. After skimming through them, Jian Wushuang's eyes focused on one pattern. It seemed to be the most profound and appealing swordsmanship for him. Jian Wushuang looked at it again. The pattern changed. It was in a dark, vast void. All the same, there stood a middle-aged man who wore a straw rain cape and a bamboo hat and held a cyan longsword on his hand. In front of him, there was a gigantic red exotic beast, more than 300 meters tall. That middle-aged man was like an ant compared with the exotic beast. At this moment, he suddenly drew his sword. An ordinary strike of sword. A plain strike was steadily wielded. It seemed to be a very usual, uncomplicated strike, without stirring up any waves around the void. After such a strike came out, the red exotic beast gave out an angry growl of fear with its eyes glaring like bells. A sword light somehow had appeared before its head without giving the red exotic beast any reaction time, chopping down its head as a whole. Then the pattern vanished. What's going on? What's going on with the sword just now? Although I did see his movement, I didn't feel any power of that movement and any sword lights bursting out. Just one sword light bursting out didn't give the exotic beast any chance to escape and killed it on the spot. How did the sword light appear? Jian Wushuang was lost in thought. Each of the 16 patterns on the jade wall was amazing, but Jian Wushuang found this one most intriguing and inscrutable. From then on, his slaughter body had been staying before the Star Jade Wall, observing and exploring the inscrutable sword on the pattern. As he observed and explored, he gradually found out some extraordinary qualities of the pattern. He recognized the reason why the sword light didn't appear at the very beginning was that sword performed by the middle-aged man had exceeded the limit of space, or that sword ignored space. Such a sword which could ignore space was undoubtedly the fastest sword. His slaughter body was entirely absorbed in meditating the sword, while his world body still stayed at the palace of Yin Thunder, cultivating divine yin thunder. Half a day has passed in a blink of an eye. On the Star Jade Wall, Jian Wushuang, who had been sitting before the pattern carefully meditating the sword, suddenly paused and a surprised look grew in his eyes. It's been a while. Have I made a breakthrough? Jian Wushuang clasped both his hands as he could hardly contain the excitement inside of him. At the moment, the sturdy sword heart had begun metamorphosizing again in his sea of consciousness. He had made a breakthrough in his sword heart. When he worked his way up in Fog Sea and battled with those exotic beasts, his sword heart had reached the summit of level 4 and was even likely to reach level 5 at any time. After coming to Star Island, his slaughter body had been staying under the Star Jade Wall meditating. As he meditated, he had developed a deeper understanding of sword principle. Until now, he had finally made a breakthrough and managed to start level 5. After the breakthrough, the power of sword heart he could produce had also improved greatly. Apparently, his comprehensive strength also enhanced by a notch. However, such an improvement was far enough to help him pass through the second trial of Black Tower. He had to try harder to become stronger. Chapter 879, She's My Friend. On Star Island, the trapped people were still attempting to seek the almost impossible dream as usual, while Jian Wushuang was fully concentrating on his cultivation. In a blink of an eye, it's been 2 years since he came to Star Island. In the palace of Yin Thunder, Jian Wushuang was sitting quietly in the midst of the endless, dark thunder sea, absorbing the power of Thunderbolt around. He immediately looked up with a jerk as an unprecedented sharp light radiated from his eyes. The sharp light was brightly like a thunderbolt. I made it! Divine Yin Thunder! His face lit up with ecstasy. The power of Thunderbolt in his body was defensively fragile at the very beginning, but it gradually grew into a pitch-black and terribly powerful Divine Thunder. The Divine Thunder was exactly Divine Yin Thunder. The level of Divine Yin Thunder was extremely high, and it was hard to cultivate it. During the 2 years Jian Wushuang staying for earnest cultivation in the Thunder Sea, Jian Wushuang suffered all kinds of hardships of Wanlei and finally produced a Divine Yin Thunder. This was the first Divine Yin Thunder he produced. Since it had just been produced and had some attacking potentials, it had a lot of room for improvement. There were 3 levels of Divine Yin Thunder, and now he had just achieved level 1. But for all this Divine Thunder was far enough to help him achieve a brand new level. After 2 years of earnest cultivation on Star Island, my strength has greatly improved. My sword heart has achieved at level 5, and then the first Divine Yin Thunder was produced. I don't know whether I can pass through level 2 of the Black Tower. Jian Wushuang clasped both of his hands, remaining a little bit expectation deep down inside of him. With such an expectation, he would obviously prove it by himself. Jian Wushuang left the palace of Yin Thunder at once, and headed to the Black Tower. When he just left the palace of Yin Thunder, he saw the whole Star Island was in chaos. A great number of people rose up, rushing towards the perimeter of Star Island. Meanwhile, Star Island rang with all kinds of sounds. Ha ha, how could new people come here? It's been just 2 years since Blood Mountain came to Star Island. Now another newcomer comes. That new newcomer, Blood Mountain, was strong indeed. As the 13th king on the island, he is not the one we can bother. But this new newcomer, I think, is not as strong as Blood Mountain. The whole Star Island was startled by the arrival of the new guy, just like Jian Wushuang's arrival at Star Island 2 years ago. Hearing these sounds, Jian Wushuang couldn't help raising his brows. Another newcomer. Is it Zhu Zui, Ling Long and other people? Jian Wushuang confused. Stellar Fog Sea was widely acknowledged as the Xianxia impasse, and now almost no one dared enter into such a place. Over 1,000 years, it was not bad that 10 people came here. However, it's been less than 2 years since he came to Star Island, but another newcomer arrived. This new guy was likely to be Zhu Zui or Ling Long, who had come to Stellar Fog Sea together with him. At the thought of this, Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate and headed to the perimeter of Star Island. At the perimeter of Star Island, a long, aquamarine-colored, particularly beautiful figure was surrounded in the center. Countless burning eyes darted towards this gorgeous figure, even more burning than those eyes on Jian Wushuang 2 years ago. At least, Jian Wushuang was a male while this newcomer was a female. More importantly, she was a gorgeous and shapely beauty. If such a beauty was in the eternal world, numerous people would be definitely tempted by her, let alone those prisoners who had been stuck on Star Island for a long time. Although there were some female cultivators stuck on Star Island, the number of them was limited and they were far less good-looking than this woman. Numerous eyes were sticking to this gorgeous figure as if they were starving wolves. This gorgeous woman noticed the stares of everyone around her as her face grew grim and her heart just sank with a bad feeling. Ha ha, it seems that destiny is kind enough to give us such a beauty. Supposedly, we'll see a good day in the following life. A wild and sturdy man said, making no secret of his greedy simile. This wild man was exactly Shimo, who had been defeated by Jian Wushuang 2 years ago. As he had been stuck on Star Island for millions of years, Shimo became very wicked. However, at this moment, this woman is mine. A cold voice abruptly sounded. This voice was too determined to make Shimo and other people around frowned. Then they all looked toward the speaker. However, when they found the speaker, Shimo immediately smiled flatteringly. It's you, Mr. Qian Quan. Since Mr. Qian Quan was also interested in her, This beauty is undoubtedly yours, said Shimo respectfully, with a fawning smile. A huge prison as Star Island was, people couldn't be killed in such a prison, and expert coming first was always the elementary principle. Although you couldn't be killed here, your rival who was stronger than you could always torment you at any time because it was not subject to laws. This Chen Quan was one of the renowned kings of the 13 kings on Star Island, including Jian Wushuang. Ranking the 6th among the 13 kings, he was rigorous and competitive. Except other kings, who dared offense him on Star Island? If he wanted this woman, who dared say no? Well, the ice-cold man nodded slightly and said with a cold smile, take it easy. I'll take her for at most 1,000 years. After that, suit yourself. Many thanks, Mr. Chen Quan. Shimo and people around looked delirious. 1,000 of years. 1,000 of years was a blast, about which they really didn't care. You, come with me. Having a look at the Absolute Beauty, Chen Quan's eyes were filled with wild excitement. The Absolute Beauty's face suddenly changed. She looked frightened, clenching her teeth. At this moment, whoosh! A figure suddenly appeared in the void behind. Jian Wushuang saw the gorgeous figure with an aquamarine-colored, long hair surrounded at the middle of people when he came here. Just as one expected. A smile grew on his face when he saw her. Surely, he also saw the surrounding, including those infatuating eyes of Chen Quan, Shimo, and others people. Jian Wushuang's look grew immediately cold as his body dived down. Bang! Like a falling stone, his body landed violently at the middle of people as a fearful atmosphere prevailed everywhere. Jian Wushuang's cold eyes darted toward Chen Quan at once. She is my friend. Who dares touch her? Chapter 880. Chen Quan. She is my friend. Who dares touch her? A ice-cold voice spread about as people around felt their hearts stop beating. Then numerous pairs of startled eyes immediately looked at Jian Wushuang. It's him. It's Blood Mountain. That newcomer. Newcomer? Now he's been the 13th king of Star Island. People began whispering. The Absolute Beauty also looked toward Jian Wushuang. When she saw clearly Jian Wushuang, her face was lit up with joy. You're Blood Mountain, aren't you? Ling Long, long time no see. Jian Wushuang smiled to the Absolute Beauty. The Absolute Beauty was exactly Ling Long previously. 4 of 3-clawed Blood Eagle Guard came to Stellar Fog Sea together. They started with good control, but then they encountered a group of exotic beasts and had to flee in all directions. However, Shui Jin was killed while Zhu Zui and Ling Long got separated from Jian Wushuang. Over the past few years, Jian Wushuang had no clue whether Zhu Zui and Ling Long were dead or not. But now, Ling Long had come to Star Island. She survived and had been wandering about in the Fog Sea. You are that Blood Mountain. A somewhat cold voice was uttered by Chen Quan as his eyes looked to Jian Wushuang. Yes, it's me. Jian Wushuang replied, nodding smilingly. Well, I heard that you'd passed through level 1 of Black Tower for the first 2 days you came to Star Island. Now you're the 13th king on Star Island, but your strength means nothing compared to me. I'm urging that you'd better wise up and give the woman to me. Chen Quan said chillingly. It's been more than millions of years since he came to Star Island. It took a long time for him to pass through level 1 of Black Tower. He was so powerful that he'd been ranking the 6th among the 13 kings. Jian Wushuang had just passed through level 1 of Black Tower. It was estimated that he just began cultivating the 9 secret skill. How could he put it in his eyes? What if I don't give her to you? Jian Wushuang looked coolly to Chen Quan, folding his arms. No. Chen Quan's eyes grew cold, giving a fearful laugh. Do you think you can protect her with your strength? When he finished talking, Chen Quan began attacking Chen Quan. An violent wind suddenly was blowing hard as Chen Quan vanished. Then he appeared again before Jian Wushuang, while there was a black long spear on his hand. This long spear had an increasing flow of air around, gloomy and ghastly. Newcomer, let me teach you how to respect the seniors. A cold voice was uttered by Chen Quan, while the black long spear stabbed directly on Jian Wushuang's head. It was so fast, and his attacking skill was also malevolent. After seeing this, Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes without panicking. As soon as Chen Quan attacked him, his bloodline power inside his body was sprouting up, transforming into gold-armored ancient god at once. Meanwhile, his Blood Mountain sword also appeared on his hand. As his sword principle greatly improved, the power of his Blood Mountain sword became stronger and stronger. With the black long spear directly stabbing towards him, Jian Wushuang waved his Blood Mountain sword at once. Clang! A sound gave a deafening aftermath, as metal struck metal. Phew! 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 3 black flowing lights abruptly swept around. Chen Quan waved his long spear for 3 times in a split second. The long spear was so fast that it gave out an violently destructive aura with irresistible force. Jian Wushuang's brows knitted as he immediately resisted the attempt of 3 long spears to attack him. When he resisted the attack, however, his body went backward for a few steps, thoroughly flurried. Chen Yu was right. There were at least 10 people who had the ability of breaking through Dao Master among the 12 kings, but they always attempted to suppress their realms. Like Chen Quan, he is one of them. Jian Wushuang and Chen Quan were putting a tough fight while he was well aware of Chen Quan's specific strength. At the same time, he also felt a uniquely destructive aura from Chen Quan's long spear. Chen Quan has developed a kind of Dao of his own, Jian Wushuang said secretly. There were a variety of Dao. The first kind was to perceive origin of heaven and earth, evolving from origin of heaven and earth into origin Dao. For example, Jian Wushuang meditated world origin and slaughter origin at the very beginning, and then they evolved into world Dao and slaughter Dao. The second kind was sword principle, saber principle, spear principle, and other kinds of weapon Dao. This kind of Dao was a self-understanding of magic weapon. The improvement of sword heart and the elegance of swordsmanship also belonged to sword principle. The 2 kinds of Dao both belonged to eternal realm, which were not accessible to divine realm experts. However, there was the third type of Dao, which was quite unique. As for the third Dao, it was not necessary to tell different types. People had to explore and create it by their own. People could make their own Dao. The reason why Dao Master in the eternal world was called Dao Master was that they had developed and mastered their own Dao. The reason why Dao Master in the eternal world was called Dao Master was that they had developed and mastered their own Dao. If you wanted to achieve at Dao Master, you had to try to develop your own Dao. No matter what level you achieved at, you would acquire the ability of Dao Master if you created it. When Jian Wushuang battled with Chen Quan, he had perceived an independent Dao existing in the movement of the long spear Chen Quan performed. Apparently, Chen Quan had opened up his own Dao. He'd opened up his own Dao with so many skills himself. No wonder he could pass through level 1 of Black Tower. And he even cultivated one of the 9 strongest secret skills on Star Island, which helped him improve significantly his strength. With half closing his eyes, Jian Wushuang was lost in thought. Phew! 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 The flowing lights shot out from Jian Wushuang's interspatial ring one after another. Under Jian Wushuang's control, the 36 Blood Sky swords converged in a second. Jian Wushuang had a deeper understanding of 9th Heaven sword formation from 2 years ago. More importantly, his sword heart had achieved level 5. The power of his sword heart skyrocketed, driving 9th Heaven sword formation to largely rise in both speed and power. Go! As Jian Wushuang pointed remotely, the scarlet longsword combined by the 36 Blood Sky swords was like a haze of sun, shooting up violently. It was so fast that experts around could hardly see clearly the shadow of the scarlet longsword. Then, the scarlet longsword had appeared right before Chen Quan. Too fast. Chen Quan appeared to be shocked by the speed of 9th Heaven sword formation. But with his strength, it was not that fast before he could react. When 9th Heaven sword formation swept fiercely toward his head, he directly stabbed it with the black long spear on his hand. 2 ghastly blasts of power collided in the void.